What's eating you? Psychology Eats is here to help you. What's eating you? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back to Psychology Eats. So, what's eating you? Well, today, I'm ate up. I'm ate up, and I'm fed up. Whew. Well, if you looked at my thumbnail and the title, I am reacting to Dr. Carl Hart, who I reluctantly refer to as a psychologist because he is. He is a psychologist. He will tell you his credentialing in a minute. But basically, why he has hit the scene is because he wrote a book. Where he wrote the book? Oh, Drug Use for Grown-Ups. This man is promoting heroin, cocaine, meth as a acceptable form of entertainment and use. He is not only a psychologist, he is a researcher of drugs. He knows exactly what drugs do in the human body, in the brain, and other parts of the body. But he believes, because he uses heroin, that heroin in its most raw form is not a bad drug to use. I 1000% disagree with him. And if he was in front of me right now, let me tell you something. If this, no, I can't do it. I wish I had something. I would just, okay. All right, let's start with, he's been on several shows. I'm gonna look at him on when he was on the Breakfast Club a month ago, but he was just on the show The Doctors, and listen to him, please.
Carl Hart, Columbia University professor. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning, sir. Tell them a little bit more about yourself.
I'm a professor at Columbia. I also work at the New York State Psychiatric Institute, where I'm a research scientist. I've been doing that for about 25 years. Before that, I was at Yale, and before that, I was at the University of California, San Francisco.
And we talked about you earlier this week because you were all over the news.
You got a book out.
And you were talking that you are an admitted heroin user.
We'll get to the book first. The book.
Just say what was all over the news. That's what I'm asking.
And I saw you on that crack
documentary.
also.
Yeah.
I told you, but I saw him on that crack. Like, Jesus
No.
Christ.
The documentary is great. You should watch it if you guys haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, he was just telling me about it. But the book is called Drug Use for Grown-Ups, Chasing Liberty in the Land of Fear. Explain that title.
Yeah, the title, the real action is in the subtitle, Chasing Liberty in the Land of Fear. I use drugs as a topic to explore our own liberty. I'm a drug expert, so I use drugs.
And a drug addict.
I'm trying to point out to people that the Declaration of Independence, for example, guarantees all of us 3 birthrights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Correct.
As long as you don't mess with anybody else's ability to do the same. Now, what that means is that you can live your life however you choose. And I was using drugs as a topic. It's like, why should people care what you put in your body as long as you are a good person?
Pause.
You don't mess with people.
Pause. Why should people care what you put in your body? Because when you put drugs in your body, you are not just affecting yourself. When a mother injects herself with heroin, not only is she affecting herself, she is affecting how she parents her children or lack of parenting her children. So, in that example, her drug use is going to negatively affect her ability to parent. I've never met a heroin addict who can function in the role of a parent, man or woman, effectively. Let's go on.
And so, in exploring this topic this past week, I realized that, well, I already knew, but I'm an example of how moralistic we are, regardless of what kind of person you are. People will attack you if you engage in certain behaviors that have been deemed evil for whatever reason.
For a lot of reasons.
Homosexuality was the case. There was a time when black people were being attacked for just being black. Now, drugs, crack, or heroin is the evil thing to engage
in. It is.
Those things hurt people.
Absolutely, Charlamagne.
The person using them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, great question. So,
I didn't ask a question, bro.
well, I was trying to save you, right?
Oh.
Because on the one hand, you should know that heroin is a medication that is approved for treatment. Heroin and morphine are essentially the same drug. The Bear Aspirin Company, for example, in 1874, just attached two acetyl groups to morphine to make heroin.
So yes, we know that, and he's going to talk about that a little bit more. We know that heroin was used initially to manage pain. We know that. That's the root of pain medication. That is why opiates, codeine, and perks are addicting, because we know that it's the root of heroin. It's essentially heroin. And so that's why we know it needs to be monitored. And the use for those drugs were not intended to be recreational, sir.
But the bottom line is that they're the same drug, because the acetyl groups don't have any biological effects.
Didn't they used to be called heroin?
No.
Or something like that?
No.
I saw something about that.
No. But the point is that heroin is a perfectly good pain reliever. It
Absolutely.
also induces euphoria and a wide range of effects that we desire, like pleasure. So when you say that it doesn't harm you, certainly it can harm you. If people overdo it and they don't know what they're doing, yeah, they certainly can be harmed.
And they don't know what they're doing. This man is suggesting that we teach people how to be responsible addicts. Oh, God. This man has done extensive research. He knows what heroin, coke, meth, LSD, marijuana, nicotine, alcohol. He knows what that does to the human body. I'm not even talking about the brain effects, just the body, the liver, the other organs that they destroy as they're being processed through the body. This man got me. Oh, he got me hot.
Just like when you drive a car.
Is it addictive though? Is heroin addictive?
Is heroin addictive? Certainly can be addictive.
What do you think?
Drink alcohol?
Not really.
Well, people drink alcohol. Alcohol is addictive.
Of course, and it's not good.
All of these sorts of
For
things
you.
can be addictive. In my book, I'm trying to help people to understand what makes things addictive. Not the substance itself, because as much as 75% of the people who use heroin are not addicted. They don't have any problem.
Oh, snap.
As much as 75%. So when you
Listen, he a bold-faced liar. Dr. Hart, you a liar. I don't. What 75%? 75% of who? Who? 75% of people use heroin effectively. And you saying that 75%? Well, I want to know this subgroup of 75 percenters. Are you referring to people who are under a doctor's care who are receiving pain management medication? I know you're not talking about 75% of regular, everyday, regular, smegular drug addicts in the streets are using their heroin effectively? Wow.
See this, you say, all right, if most of the people who use that drug, or any other drug for that matter, are not addicted, then you have to look beyond the drug itself. And in this book, I'm trying to tell people what those factors are that increases someone's likelihood of becoming addicted.
I'm fascinated by this conversation. What are your drugs of choice?
What are my drugs of choice?
Yeah.
So like that kind of question, for example, it's like saying, what's your favorite sexual position? It's a private thing, right? I mean, that's a private
Why? You on here talking about
You
drugs?
do heroin. You said you do heroin.
No, hold on. I put a lot of things in the book. I said that I have done heroin. For example, like in the past week, the media, I think it's been said, I do heroin every day, I inject and so forth.
That's what they made it seem like.
All that is just untrue. You know, we're in a pandemic. How can I get heroin in this pandemic? At least I can. And any heroin I ever used was pharmaceutically grade heroin. I don't do.
So first of all, to me, he's coming down off of something because he's very irritable. Not very, but he's irritable, short-tempered. Definitely looks like he need to get high, or maybe that's how he acts when he is high. I can't tell. Something ain't right. But did this man just say, it's a pandemic, how I'm gonna get heroin? I can take you to 20 heroin addicts and they can tell you how to get heroin. You could get heroin. Oh, well, I'm sorry. He's a doctor, so he doesn't buy his heroin off the street. This man should not be on any social media. He should not be spreading this bullshit. Oh, he got me fired up.
Drugs that are bought off the street. That's stupid. You know, I published this year alone.
They sell heroin if you're not in Madison, Brooklyn, or the Bronx.
Well, you know, United States ain't the only country, you know. I travel a lot in this book. I travel to 5 different continents, and heroin is available on pharmaceutical grade in many of these countries in which I travel to. So,
Yeah, because they use it for pain.
They have this idea of someone who uses heroin as some poor soul who is injecting the drug and is a slave to the drug.
They are.
And they think that heroin is the reason for that person's problem, because that person definitely exists. But the person's problem is not so much heroin as everything else. Like the person might have co-occurring psychiatric illnesses. The person might have had some traumatic stuff that's happened to their life. They may have lost some well-paying middle-class job.
Not middle class.
And they now have no status in their community. Like what has happened.
This man has been in the lab too long.
Like GM left and went to other countries, and other factories left and went to other countries. Now those people are.
I think what happened to this man, let me tell you something. When you are a researcher in any field, you spend a lot of time by yourself. This man spent a lot of time in that laboratory studying all of these drugs, surrounded by these drugs. And I think he said, you know what? Well, let me see what this is about. Real short story. I was studying under a psychiatrist we were studying about different medications, effectiveness of medications. So he was telling us, you know what? A lot of clients complain about lithium, so I think what I'm going to do is pop a couple of lithiums. I'm laughing because this man was crazy. I'm going to pop some lithiums and see what happens. Okay. Well, he woke up 3 days later. 3 days later. He lucky he woke up. The point is, I don't even know what my point was. I just thought of that story. Anyway, back to this man.
Out gainful middle class employment.
Dr. Hart, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
I always hear people say, well, I'm chasing that high I got the first time that I used it. But is that a real thing? Because I've heard so many people say that on documentaries.
Yeah, I know, because we are willing to accept that, right? No, it's certainly true. Like, just think of the first time you enjoyed an orgasm. It's like, it was amazing. For me, the first time, it's like, am I chasing the first time I had an orgasm? No, yeah, of course not. But although I do
like that feeling.
I like that
Oh,
feeling.
listen to Envy.
What, orgasm can kill you. You certainly can get killed. I mean, you think about sexually translated diseases and so forth. But it's a silly sort of.
This man, listen, I don't want his message. I'm so mad at him for putting out this message like this because it will reinforce how kids accept using drugs. He's saying, oh no, this is for adults. This message is for adults. Really? Who's the number one imitator of adults? Children. He's sending out a very bad message. You know what I want to do? I'm going to show some clips of some heroin addicts. And I want people to see this is what really happens to you when you use heroin. This man is in a $1 million Yale University, Howard, wherever the hell he is, laboratory, messing around with some heroin, as he calls it, laboratory heroin. He is out of his mind. This man is out of his mind. He really is. How dare you? So, here is just a little bit of the truth about what drugs are doing to our society. Not only our society, but other countries too. But when we look at the scale of drug abuse and drug use country to country, the United States is probably the worst. That we have a real epidemic. I like to say to people, I don't like to say it, but what we are living in a pandemic because of C-19 and an epidemic because of the drug addiction and use in our country. So I follow this channel called it's called Soft White Underbelly. And the content creator, he is has his studio on Skid Row in LA, but he travels all over the country. But I think this episode he's on Skid Row. And if you've ever seen look up documentaries, go to his page and look up Skid Row in LA. 95% of the people on Skid Row are drug addicts. And they're white, they're black, Hispanic, Catholic, whatever, Muslim, you name it. It is everybody down there. So this is just one of the stories. But I want to make a point about the devastation of heroin on everyday people. Not people like Dr. Carl Hart, who's a bougie drug addict, is what he is.
prostitute. My dad was her pimp. Me and three of my siblings got adopted by a professional baseball player and a woman whose construction company built most of Seal Beach. I grew up just an average white boy at that point in time. I mean, just, Seal Beach is Seal Beach. Just a yuppie white boy. Yeah, I had a pretty good childhood. I definitely didn't doubt whether or not they loved me. I was afforded all the niceties. I got to do all the baseball and sports and go to church and vacations and everything else. It was the nice 2.5 family, only a lot larger than that.
Sounds great. And how far did you go in school?
I actually have my GED, my high school equivalency. I didn't quite
So he's a
graduate.
heroin
I was
addict.
supposed to graduate and just decided to work full time at Disneyland instead. So it didn't work out that way.
Were you getting in trouble at that point?
At that point in time, I touched trouble with the law every once in a while. I think I'd had a joyriding. Maybe I ran away from home a couple times. I'd been to what cost a youth shelter in Los Alamitos.
Let me go a little bit.
I did what most kids at 18 did, and I left for the military. I did 4 years in the Air Force and identifying as an alcoholic since I was 9. I still am to this day an alcoholic. My alcohol of choice right now happens to be fentanyl or heroin.
So alcohol started early.
Alcohol started at 9. And I started stealing. My parents didn't drink, but they had parties at the house, so there was always alcohol in the house. I started, replacing the vodka with water and stealing the beers that I could during parties and whatnot. And I guess I drank for that effect. I drank for that oblivion. I didn't want to feel. I had a pretty messed up childhood for the first 5 years of my life.
So the first 5 years of his life, he was with his birth parents who were heroin addicts. So we know, based on research, that genetically, if addiction passes through children genetically, he wasn't even with his birth parents after the age of 5, and like he said, was placed in a great family. But then he started dabbling with drugs, and now this man is on Skid Row, a full-blown heroin addict. Here is Nicole. Let's listen a little bit about her story and her drug
Last 2
addiction.
years has just been absolute hell, and I just so badly want to be free from it, but it's hard. It's really
What do you
hard.
think people don't understand about trying to quit drugs? because so many people, I'll read the comments sometimes, and people say, "Oh, just quit, get back to your family."
Yeah, what I think people don't understand is that it's not us anymore. It's not me anymore. Once the drug it's I'm dependent on it, and once I feel I need it, Nicole's not there anymore. The drug takes over, and I feel like a lot of people take it so personally. I'm doing these things. I don't know. It's not me. I am not the drug. And the drug is not me. And we become almost one when I'm using. And a lot of people forget that. It's I'm not this person that just because I'm doing bad things and I maybe come off as disgusting drug addict, as my mother likes to say, even though she's a fucking alcoholic. I'm not.
Genetics.
That's not me anymore, and I'm sick.
If there was a choice, the choice might have been years ago when you first picked up the cocaine or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But the choice is no longer a choice now.
Yeah.
It's a necessity.
Yeah, at first I believe
it's more important than breathing, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Totally. And I believe that it's a disease of choice. Is what I always say. At first you.
So yes, if you want to see more about the real deal when it comes to heroin addicts and fentanyl addicts and cocaine addicts and alcoholics and drug addicts, look at Soft White Underbelly. I'll put it in the description box so you can find his videos. But Dr. Carl Hart, my treatment plan for you, I thought my timer went off. Sir, is go to rehab, sir. Because I think you're addicted to whatever you've been playing around with in your laboratory. And stop this foolishness. Or you know what? I just came up with my treatment plan for Dr. Carl Hart. Dr. Carl Hart, I am mandating you, oh Lord, I wish I had the power, to spend 5 days and 5 nights in a tent on Skid Row. Now, I'm going to give you a tent. Most people show up on Skid Row, they don't even have their own tent. I'm going to give you a tent. I'm going to give you a tent and $2. And the clothes on your back. A tent and $2 and a bottle of water. And I want you to live amongst the people. You're not going to get no grade A heroin. You're going to get what the hell they got on the street. Since you think it's okay to get high. And I want you to stay there for 5 days and 5 nights on Skid Row. And then we'll talk. I'm done. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.